got an issue for you, Chief.
Huh? I got an issue for you. You disrespect my block, all headshots. I ain't playing with you. South over Sosa. Shoot on sight.
But Rick Ross, we at you, boy. Yeah, we out here in Cali, man. We ain't playing with you. You done started something you can't finish. You ain't bigger than the mob. We are the mob.
So we're here on behalf of the Order Hornets to let you know you are not allowed in our city. You're not welcome here. We don't with no motherfucking child in this city,
Hip-hop without beef and gang problems is almost unimaginable, right? These elements are like the secret sauce of the culture, adding intensity, drama, and an edge that's almost essential for some rappers to really make a name. Many of them rely heavily on gang support to survive, thrive, and rise to fame. But when these affiliations take a dark turn, they can ignite feuds that spiral out of control, dragging both rappers and their crews into a dangerous, overdrawn, unresolved beef. Take Tekashi 6ix9ine for instance. He turned on the Nine Trey Bloods in a bid for freedom, and the fallout? Threats from left and right.
So we're here on behalf of the Order Hornets to let you know you are not allowed in our city. You're not welcome here. We don't with no motherfucking child in this city,
Then there's 50 Cent, who after a major fallout with a notorious gang leader found himself as the target of gunfire.
I'm curious about after you got shot, because you got shot in the mouth among the 9 shots.
Because my tongue swelled up. There's a fragment of a bullet inside my tongue.
Still.
Yeah.
Let's dive in. First, let's talk about 50 Cent's beef with the Supreme Gang. His story is about as intense as it gets. Picture this, just sometime in 2000 and 50 is in his grandma's neighborhood in South Jamaica, Queens, just minding his own business. His grandma's out there in her garden tending to her flowers, and 50 steps out to his car, probably not even thinking twice about it. But right then, things take a hard left turn. Out of nowhere, a car pulls up and a guy jumps out from the passenger side. And before you know it, 50 finds himself staring down the barrel of a gun. What happens next is brutal. He gets hit with a barrage of bullets, not just 1 or 2, but 9 shots right there in front of his grandma's place. Bullets hit him all over, his hand, arm, hips, legs, chest, and even his face. You can imagine the chaos, his family in shock, and for 50, it's a literal fight for survival.
I'm curious about after you got shot, because you got shot in the mouth among the 9 shots.
Because my tongue swelled up. There's a fragment of a bullet inside my tongue.
Still.
Yeah.
But somehow and against all odds, he survives. He goes through surgery after surgery, and after an exhausting recovery, he pulls through. A comeback that shocks everyone given the severity of his injuries. Word of what happened to him spreads like wildfire, and everyone in the streets and music world is floored that someone would go to such lengths to try to take him out, especially someone with so much potential in the rap game. The motives behind the attack were unclear at first, setting off a wave of rumors. Some people thought maybe it had to do with his past in the drug game, while others guessed it could have been personal beef or some street vendetta coming back to haunt him.
Why'd the guy shoot you 9 times? Was it drugs or something?
It was paid to do it.
But soon pieces of the story start fitting together, and there's one theory that rises to the top. See, 50 had put out a track called Ghetto Quran, where he drops some names and addresses the life of a notorious figure, Kenneth Supreme McGriff. Now McGriff wasn't just anybody, he was the alleged mastermind behind the Supreme Team, a gang with a serious reputation that controlled a huge piece of New York's drug trade and stirred up a lot of trouble.
Supreme was the businessman and Prince was the remember? He used to push the bulletproof BM.
Apparently 50's lyrics were taken as a sign of disrespect, and it wasn't long before people connected the dots, thinking that maybe Supreme wasn't too happy about that track. But 50 wasn't going to sit quietly or let the rumors fester. He didn't go looking for revenge himself, but he wasn't afraid to drop names either. He points the finger at Daryl Hamo Baum, who was known for being close to Mike Tyson, claiming Baum was the one who actually pulled the trigger. Then you've got The Game, who's made a name for himself as this hardcore, no-nonsense rapper straight out of Compton, where respect and street creds are just as important as money or fame, maybe even more so. And down in LA, respect is everything, especially when it comes to the big gangs like the Bloods and the Crips, who've been ruling the streets and setting their own codes for decades. Now, here's where the plot thickens. The Game was once associated with the Bloods, or so the story goes, but then things started to get tense.
I want to say I became a Blood when my brother became a Blood, because that was who I looked up to, and that's who I basically patterned myself and my lifestyle after.
Apparently, he started taking shots at the gang in his lyrics, making it sound like he wasn't as loyal as he'd claimed to be, and that right there, that's something that doesn't go down easily in the world of the Bloods and Crips, where loyalty is sacred and crossing that line can mean serious consequences. And the game, despite his status in the rap world, started stirring up drama not just with them, but also by throwing shade at other LA rappers, sparking more tension in the streets, and making it clear that not everyone was ready to welcome him with open arms. But it wasn't always like that. Back when the game was just getting his start, people were talking, whispering about him. Some folks thought he wasn't really about that life, that maybe he was just trying to act like something he wasn't.
Is the game a real gangbanger?
Hell, and don't even speak. Oh, gang bull, cause he represent Bompton. That's what we from. That's it.
Cedar Black Blood, Cedar, homie.
See, back then, if you didn't have that real street credibility, you might as well kiss your rap dreams goodbye. No record label would even look at you if there was even a hint you were faking it. Reputation was everything. You mess that up and you're done. No forgiveness, no second chances. So for the game, it was brutal having to prove himself again and again, especially because everyone knew that his family was actually tied to the Crips. There were rumors his parents had affiliations, with some saying his mom was from the Hoover Street Crips and his dad from the Nutty Block Compton Crips.
Born and raised in Compton.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, your parents, weren't they both Crips?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then there's the Cedar Block Pyru part. When the game was still young, in high school, he got involved with the Cedar Block Pyru, a blood set formed back in the 1980s on the west side of Compton, named after Cedar Street. But life, as it often does, threw him a curveball. The game went through a near-death experience, getting shot 5 times.
So, I opened the door. As soon as I opened the door, 2 other niggas came behind him with guns drawn, and it sort of like blew me back off the door. I didn't fall down. He felt it coming, and so his finger was around the trigger of it. So he pulled the trigger, and then I got shot in the chest. Got up, I flew back, not knowing that I was shot, and I started running down the hallway to get my shotgun. And he shot twice more, and I got shot in the ankle, and then I got shot in the stomach too.
Now, that kind of close call with death has a way of changing a person, and for the game, it was a wake-up call that it was time to leave the street life behind and put everything he had into his real dream, rap. And he didn't just wade into the industry, he went all in, determined to make it big. Now, just when you think it's all settled, along comes Big Phase 100, the game's own brother, throwing more fuel on the fire by claiming that the game isn't actually from Cedar Block Pyru. And then the Cedar Block crew backs him up, leaving people buzzing with rumors and accusations. Was it jealousy, sibling rivalry, or something else? The streets are talking, and there's no shortage of people wondering if the game's success has stirred up resentment, especially in the Bloods community. Then there's this Miami rapper Stitches, who's not holding back either. He goes on Instagram throwing all kinds of shade and claiming the game isn't really a Blood at all, adding yet another layer of drama to the whole situation. So with all these voices chiming in, the game's roots and reputation keep coming up for debate, proving that even at the top, your past can come back to haunt you. Then we've got Tekashi 6ix9ine, and his story is wild because here's a guy who went from being an internet troll to a massive rap sensation, all without spending big on traditional marketing or billboard ads. Instead, he stirred up constant buzz by feuding publicly with gangs, throwing out controversial statements, and keeping the spotlight on himself through sheer chaos. But the fame game wasn't all talk. To back up his image, Tekashi linked up with the Nine Trey Gangsta Bloods, a notorious gang running the streets in Brooklyn and the Bronx known for drug t-fficking, robberies, and all kinds of violent activity. Now, his manager at the time, Shoddy, was deep in the Nine Trey world and saw Tekashi's rising fame as a ticket to rebranding Nine Trey into a modern version of something like Death Row Records, combining hardcore street reputation with rap industry success, making Tekashi's image both menacing and marketable.
Pull up on them real life like where the energy at. I shot you, I robbed you, and you ain't do nothing.
Tekashi's involvement with Nine Trey wasn't just for show. He was making actual calls on real street business, even ordering hits. But by the end of 2018, it all came crashing down when the federal government stepped in, hitting Nine Trey with an indictment on racketeering, drug t-fficking, and conspiracy charges, and Tekashi found himself in the center of it all. Turns out this was the culmination of a years-long investigation by the FBI and NYPD, and the case had big names in Nine Trey caught up in it. From high-ranking figures like Mel Murda, considered the godfather of Nine Trey, to Shoddy, Tekashi's manager. With 47 years of prison time on the line, Tekashi made a choice that sent shockwaves through the streets. He decided to cooperate with the government in exchange for a lighter sentence. He justified his decision by saying Nine Trey had turned on him, claiming they kidnapped him, stole his money, and even messed around with his girlfriend. So in his mind, he was cutting ties with people who had already betrayed him. Once he started cooperating, Tekashi didn't hold anything back. He called out everyone from Cardi B for her alleged gang affiliations to Trippie Redd for his connections to the Bloods, even bringing up old tensions between Nine Trey and Rap-A-Lot Records, a Houston label founded by Jay Prince. Back in 2018, Tekashi had traveled to Houston but refused to perform at a show, suspecting that he was walking into a setup. He later claimed Nine Trey had plans to rob Rap-A-Lot artists when they visited New York, a detail that came out in court. With Tekashi's testimony, several major Nine Trey members ended up with long prison sentences. Mel Murda got 11 years, Shotty was sentenced to 15, and meanwhile Tekashi walked away with just 2 years, getting out in April 2020. His release sparked outrage, with more people claiming that this gang would still come for him and that he needed to watch his back.
So we're here on behalf of the Order Hornets to let you know you are not allowed in our city. You're not welcome here. We don't with no motherfucking child in this city, bitch.
Stepping into another story, we've got King Von, a guy who had that raw Chicago energy, but who tragically lost his life in November 2020 due to a prolonged diss with the NBA gang.
So I'm letting this group come by. Next thing you know, a nigga hit me. You feel me? Boom, bam. Man, like, I lied to you not, man. I lied to you not.
You see, this wasn't your everyday nightclub scuffle. It was a full-on shootout between Von and another rapper, Quando Rondo, who was tied to the NBA gang. It all started heating up when Von was seen with Youngboy's ex, Jania. And even though he tried to explain it away, saying they were just making music, the internet took it and ran wild, blowing things way out of proportion.
He said, wife.
Man, whatever. It's upset. Who, huh? Who? Who, huh?
In fact, just the day before everything went down, Von tried to put the rumors to bed, posting a video saying, "Ain't no rap beef and ain't no real beef unless somebody got shot or something." But little did anyone know that this comment would turn out to be hauntingly prophetic. Now, here's where things get complicated. Von and Quando were in this tangled web because despite everything, Quando and Lil Durk, a huge influence on Von's career, were still on good terms. Durk had even featured on Quando's track Other Side. Yet Von's beef with Youngboy slowly dragged Quando right into the middle of it. Rumor has it, Quando was gearing up to confront Von just a week after Von's album dropped. The roots of the tension ran deep, going back to before either of them had blown up, with Von hustling in the streets of Chicago and Youngboy coming up in Baton Rouge. In the early days, Von, Durk, and their crew actually jammed out to Youngboy's music on IG Live, and there was a time it seemed like they might have even collaborated. But as time went on, Von started calling out Youngboy's lyrics, claiming he wasn't really about what he rapped about. One day, Von was even seen chilling on IG Live, vibing to Youngboy's Play With Us, and halfway through, he went off saying something like, "Man, what the heck is Youngboy even talking about here? Dude's wildin' on this track and he ain't even like that, just a whole lot of cap in your raps."
What?
You talking crazy on this man.
Oh, yeah?
He ain't even like that.
Oh!
On his ass now.
On his
All that cap. You got cap in your raps.
Normally, Youngboy would have fired back right away, but for once, he let it slide. It could have ended there, just one of those casual rapper rivalries, but when Von took it up a notch, posting a picture with Youngboy's ex Jania, which naturally caught Youngboy's attention.
He said, wife.
Man, whatever. It's upset. Who, huh? Who, huh?
Youngboy hit back hard, posting a photo with his son and captioning it with some choice words that only escalated the tension. And just to add more to the mess, Youngboy even got in the studio with Asian Doll, who had recently broken up with Von, pouring even more fuel on the fire. Von clapped back subtly, tweeting that Youngboy's new stuff was trash, even hinting he had dirt on him that would make him question his family ties. Fans were buzzing, they knew there was serious heat brewing. Youngboy eventually dropped Dead Trolls, a track with lines that fans believed were aimed right at Von. By then, Von had moved to Atlanta to get away from Chicago's drama and focus on his music. But it seemed like Youngboy wasn't going to let things cool down. Social media exploded, and suddenly it wasn't just between Von and Youngboy. Quando Rondo, Lil Reese, and others all got involved, trading barbs online, and Quando's friend Lil Tim even warned people from Chicago to back off from Quando. And you know, looking back, the animosity between Von's camp and Youngboy's crew wasn't new. Even in 2019, when someone suggested a Lil Reese and Youngboy collab, Reese immediately shut it down, saying he'd never pay that Lil Boy for a feature. Vaughn tried to brush it all off publicly, saying it was just internet gossip, even telling DJ Academics there was no real beef, just industry drama. But when he ran into Quando that night in Atlanta, everything escalated in an instant. It was a heartbreaking end to what could have been an incredible story, a chilling reminder of how things can spiral when beefs are not met with a quick conflict resolution. Now up next, let's talk about Snoop Dogg, a guy who's seen it all in the hip-hop world, but whose moves don't always sit well with everyone, especially not some of the biggest street players.
They're throwing, bottles at Snoop trailer. He didn't say blood, he ain't gonna say that, but that's what he tell me. And I barely understand him, but I got it. I understood it.
There were always rumors that Snoop Dogg had ties to certain gangs, but where he really stood was kind of unclear, and people often questioned his authenticity, calling him fake on the streets.
What do you think about Snoop? Is he a Crip or Blood?
He's supposed to be a Crip.
Why you say suppose? He's fake? He's not real?
You fake, Snoop, you fake.
But then Snoop stepped into the mix and things took a dramatic turn for the worse. You see, Snoop ended up in hot water with the two most feared gangs in the streets, the Bloods and the Crips, all because of a controversial ad for his beer business. In this commercial, you had rival gang members about to go at it, literally on the edge of violence, and just as things seemed ready to explode, Snoop emerges, rising up out of a grave, beer bottle in hand, as if to say, hey, look at me, I've got something that'll cool all of this down. But of course it didn't go down like that at all. Instead, that ad just made the tension worse, and both the Bloods and the Crips felt disrespected, saying Snoop had only stoked the fire of the gang war instead of using his voice to calm things down.
My come on, cuz, you know what it is. It's Hoover, and I'm from Oklahoma. 918, this how we get down. Now I'm gonna tell you just like this, Snoop. You come down here tomorrow.
As a result, Snoop quickly found himself a target, with his business, particularly in Inglewood, getting hit multiple times, and some reports even suggesting that his business trailer faced several attacks. In one especially tense moment, a Crips member named Spice One actually stepped in to help out, recalling how he got a call from a Crips OG who told him the Bloods were swarming around Snoop's trailer and throwing bottles. Spice One managed to talk things down and defuse the whole situation before it spiraled out of control, but the fallout didn't stop there. Snoop's actions brought in threats from all over. People were calling him out, and his credibility as a gang-affiliated artist began to take serious hits, almost as if his street cred had been snatched away in an instant. And that's the thing about gangs in the world of hip-hop. They're woven into the fabric of the culture, playing a role that's nearly impossible to escape if you're in deep. But once an artist loses the support or respect of these influential groups, especially in such a public and bitter way, there's no way back, no undoing the damage done. Snoop's journey serves as a stark reminder of how fast loyalty can turn to hostility in the streets, showing that when hip-hop and gang culture clash, the fallout is often loud, messy, and sometimes even dangerous. There you have it.